Going on YouTube, CloverBuzz here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be doing our initial regulationH tier list for the upcoming format. So again, hasn't been day one yet officially, of course, but throughout the month of August, there's been tons of tournaments happening, whether it be like in person or even on the Limitless website. And what we're going to do today is based on the current data. And based on those results, we're going to create our initial tier list and see where things stand currently. So this way it can better guide your team building. If you are going to tournaments later on, or if you're going to Baltimore, at least you have a decent starting point of what you want to use, what's good, what's not so great, what could be, decent if, you explore it a little bit more. But again, this is just the initial starting point of our tier list. But before we even jump into the Pokemon, I always like to explain what the tiers are. So at the top we have the S tier. Of course, this is what I call the best of the best stats, best ability, a lot of results, very splashable on multiple teams because there's different ways you can use them. Again, the cream of the crop. A tier, again, I call that strong and consistent. Usually these are solid cores that you can build around. And, they've got great stats, typing ability, again, just like the S tier, but of course, just not as dominant as the S tier, but still very, very solid overall. The B tier, I broke the B tier up, okay? I decided to go with, a B plus and a B minus. So again, high B tier, or in essence, low B tier. This means, these are still like good Pokemon, but, they're a little bit lacking in one of the categories, whether it be like typing wise or maybe not so great ability, but still like good overall stats. Again, can you win a tournament with these? Absolutely, of course. They're not as good as the A tier, but still very solid and very good Pokemon that you can still use on a particular team. Maybe not like a building point, but something that you could use to fill out a role if you need it for it. And speaking of roles, after that we have the niche tier, which is the C tier. Now, this does not mean they're bad Pokemon. This means they have one job and they do one job very well, and outside of that job, they're just not that great, okay? So unlike the A tier, the S tier, which are very flexible and, doing lots of different things very well, the C tier means you do one thing very well and one thing only. Otherwise, outside of that one archetype or that one team, it's just not that great overall. And then we have the D tier, which we've already filled out. This is what I call the don't use tier. It means this hasn't really had an impact on the meta right now. Again, doesn't mean they won't, but as of today, they are not used competitively in VGC, okay? I want to stress that enough. Again, this is a doubles video, a doubles channel, okay? This is not singles, all right? So if you see your favorite Pokemon down here, again, I apologize in advance, but right now, there are better options for what these Pokemon can offer to a competitive VGC squad, all right? Now, feel free to argue in the comments, right, if you think I got this wrong, but as of right now, I'm going by data, and if the data says this thing is not used, it's not used for a reason, okay? So that's all I want to stress out there. And then again, I wanted to do this in advance because I don't want to waste, video time just talking about stuff like this, because again, they're not used, so why do we need to, worry about them right now, okay? I want to get to this stuff, which are actually Pokemon that are relevant, whether they be A tier, B tier, or C tier, or S tier, right? So, without further ado, now that we've explained what our tiers are and what they mean and how we're going to categorize them, let's just go straight into the Pokemon here. All right, we've got quite a few Pokemon to go through here. It's going to be a long night, okay? I tried to be kind, at the end of the day, and sometimes these are some options that I think could do well, but again, at the end of the day, maybe you might not want to use them. But that being said, let's start here from the top here. So Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise, all three of these are going in the C tier. Okay, very niche from all three of them. Why? Because, again, they're really only good on a certain kind of team. I would say Venusaur, Charizard. Okay, that's just good with, like, Sun stuff with Torkoal. Okay, we don't have Groudon anymore. We don't have Koraidon. Not to say that they were used anyway with those guys, but that being said, even though the power creep is down, it means these guys can come out to play a little bit. And speaking of coming out to play, Charizard actually has won so far 3 regulationG tournaments, all right? So that's a very, very interesting surprise there. And maybe we'll start to see more Charizard play moving forward. But, if it's got some tournament results, I got to put it in here. Again, it's really aggressive in the sun. Again, solar power, inherent life orb, you're doing a lot of damage. If you put a scarf on this thing, you outspeed pretty much everything. And then, of course, you've got Venusaur here, Venu Cole, no Dynamax era, of course, but at the same time, it's a sleep powder bot. You can be aggressive with Weather Ball. It's a decent special attack at the end of the day. But, I just think Rillaboom, is a better grass type to put on some of those Sun teams if you're really worried about water types that want to counter the Charizard. Blastoise, I've seen some Shell Smash stuff, with Water Spout and Hydro Cannon. That's okay, I guess. But I think there's some better options if you really wanted to do that kind of route. But it has had a decent support set. I've seen like Fake Out, Icy Wind stuff. So, Blastoise, not too bad for a water type. Again, I think stuff like, Tauros is a little bit better. You get Intimidate on that. You get Palafin, another strong, water type that's also solid. And then you've got some other options here that's also pretty good. Like even Gyarados, I would pick over Blastoise. But other than that, you can still do something with Shell Smash. I just don't know how much usage Blastoise is going to get in this format overall in terms of competitive play. But it has had a couple things to its name. Raichu, I could kind of see this thing, for like anti-electroshock Archeladon stuff. You've got a fast Fake Out over here. You've got Nuzzle for speed control. So in that sense, okay, I can kind of see that. But, other than that, if I really wanted a Fake Out mod, I'd rather just do Incineroar or Rillaboom stuff. But again, it's faster, so you've got that going for you. Okay, so Clefairy and Clefable. You know what? Honestly, I think, well, first of all, I'm going to put Clefairy. I'm going to put it in the A. And I'm also going to put Clefable, also, believe it or not, in the A tier. Why? For different reasons, to be honest. So, wait, actually, let me think about this. Do I really? No, actually, maybe this goes in. I think they're both in high B. I don't want to put them like immediately in A just yet. They're very good for what they do. Again, if I just put them side by side, right? So here we go, Clefairy, okay, and then we have Clefable. The difference is the ability, okay? So Clefable has Unaware, and anytime a Pokemon has Unaware, that means it's good against, the Dondozo stuff, the Mouse Hold stuff, Annihilate. You get to ignore those buffs. So that has good use here. And Clefable has some decent bulk, but Clefairy has even more bulk, okay, because of Friend Guard, and then, of course, the Violite. So Friend Guard makes your ally take less damage, obviously. And then, of course, you're also very slow, okay? Base speed 35, so you can be the fastest thing in Trick Room. So you have that going for you, which I think is pretty good. But overall, again, redirection support from all of them. Follow me, okay? Then you have Helping Hand plays, right, if you want to go for that. So, and then at the same time, you also have Heal Pulse. That's Healing Wish, but Heal Pulse if you want to heal your ally. That's also a good... I typed it again. Okay, there we go. No. Healing Wish. Okay, now let's just go Heal Pulse here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But Heal Pulse, you can heal your ally. That's also fine as well. And then, I can see stuff like this with Snorlax, with Kamo-O, maybe something like Goldengo, for example, redirect super effective moves against it. There's lots of niche for Clefairy. Imagine this with Calyrex Shadow Rider before, even though there's no Calyrex, it played a great role. There's a lot more Clefable uses this time around as well, but I think both of them respectively, they're in the B tier. Maybe this one down in the B- tier, but I think they're both solid for what they're supposed to do. All right, anyway, moving forward, we've got Ninetales. All right, this Alolan Ninetales I also think is pretty decent. I'm going to put this one also in the B tier. I think it's also good. And then at the same time, the other one, this one, I think this one is niche. Again, if I really wanted a Sunsetter, I'd rather just use Torkoal, and then it gives me a Trick Room option at the same time. And sometimes a slow weather setter is good because you get to change the opposing weather against the opponent, right? So, but this Ninetales I think is much better. Again, you get the defense boost from Hail, and then at the same time you've got Aurora Veil, you've got Icy Wind speed control, you've got Encore stuff. So I like this, not even Hypnosis, right? So I like this Ninetales especially. It benefits, stuff like Scalper. Ninetales pretty solid. I think B+ is correct for where we want to place it. All right, both of these Arcanines here. So I think this one, a little bit of niche again. It's got Intimidate. It's one type. It's a solid fire type. Okay, but I'd rather just have stuff like Incineroar or even this one, the Hisuian Arcanine. I think this one is also pretty good. I think high B tier is correct for where I want to place this thing. I think this is a good solid Intimidator. It's aggressive, right? Unlike Incineroar, which is more like supportive and defensive, this one is more aggressive on some of those offensive teams. So I think this one much better than the other Arcanine. Okay, Dugong. This is only good with that Gloom stuff, right? So I'll just put that there in niche for you Dugong Gloom fans. If you know, you know. If you don't know, ask, and then I guess I can respond. All right, Alolan Muck, man. Yeah, yep. Minimize stuff, of course. Again, going in the C tier, there's nothing else I need to say about that thing. All right, if you want to play that style, you can definitely play that with Smeargle. Speaking of Smeargle, again, another solid option. I think also B tier is correct. Very niche for where we want the Smeargle in terms of this usage. But again, you got a lot of good moves from Smeargle. I'm not gonna lie, it's a decent support Pokemon. Look, you've got Fake Out, you've got Decorate, you also have access to Wide Guard, you've got Spore at the same time, and then the Moody stuff, of course, is pretty good. So lots of good moves from Smeargle. It's always going to be a good support Pokemon. Just don't give this thing Dark Void. All right, Gengar, also very niche, but again, it's a fast Pokemon. Okay, if I just look at Gengar here, it's got Curse Body. You get to disable something. It has access to Haze. You can also do Icy Wind stuff if you really wanted to. I've seen Shadow Ball on this thing, right? So, budget Flutter Mane, not really. Good speed stat, strong special attacker. This thing needs a focus sash. It's pretty frail, but it does a lot of damage. But again, I have seen some results with this thing, but just not a whole lot. I think Goldengo is just a better ghost type, and even Dragapult too, right? All right, Weezing. So here's the thing. Both of these Weezings can be good, okay? But I just don't know what to partner them with besides Slacking, okay? Because besides that, like, where else am I really going to use Weezing? Am I just going to slap it onto, like, a 5-man core and then just take away abilities? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Weezing itself is good, but, like, who do I want to put beside it? There's no Regigigas here, so I guess Slacking here has to go with it. Again, good, in terms of, like, it's bulky, it's got Taunt, it's got Will-O-Wisp, okay? But outside of, maybe partnering next to a Slacking, what else can I really use the Weezing for? And again, even if you can find another option, it's just a niche, support option at best. Same thing over here, Electabuzz and Magmar. Again, more niche support Pokemon, very bulky redirectors with the Violite. Electabuzz, of course, has the Vital Spirit, which is useful in redirecting against Amoonguss because, this thing can't be slept. And again, you just look at this bulk. It doesn't look super impressive, but once you slap on the Violite and give this thing defensive nature, it's actually not too bad. Same thing with the Magmar. But outside of that, all right, the Tauroses, I think, are also pretty solid. I like the Aqua one a little bit more, but I think it's a solid option here. And I almost want to put this thing in the A tier. I think it's quite good for what it's supposed to do. So this one maybe a little bit, right here. I think B tier, they're both correct, but I like the Aqua one a little bit more. Again, water coverage, besides Palafin, or even like something else that's a water type. I almost said Urshifu, but Urshifu is banned, right? Or Primarina, right? I like, besides Palafin, Primarina, I think or even Gyarados, I think this is also like your next best Intimidate option. Speaking of Intimidate, water type Gyarados also very comparable to the Aqua breed here. Again, you got a lot of things going for Gyarados. Again, you've got Intimidate, you're a flying type, so that gives you ground immunity into stuff like, Blood Moon Ursaluna or even the regular Ursaluna. And then at the same time, you've got Thunder Wave for speed control. This one also gets access to Icy Wind. You've got Helping Hand. You've got also access to Taunt if you need the Gyarados to Taunt. And then, of course, you can also go for Waterfall. So, Gyarados has a good support toolkit, and that's really its role here. But it can be aggressive if you go for something like Dragon Dance Gyarados. So you can even do something like that, and then you just go like Waterfall, and then Terra Blast, Terra Flying. I have seen that, of course. So you can even consider this and just go Adamant Nature, right? But, to each their own, how you want to play the Gyarados. But again, multiple roles, right? So that's what's going to get you higher on the tier list. If you have, different playstyles of that Pokemon versus like only one kind of way of really using it. All right, Ditto. All right, again, can be good on a 5-man core just to round it out. But again, always going to be a niche tier Pokemon. Snorlax also, pretty solid in Trick Room. Does decent with Sinistra, and that's really what you want to use with it. I can't really imagine too many Snorlax teams without Sinistra right now, but at the end of the day, it's a good belly drum user, that can do tons of damage, once it reaches that max attack. I think it's quite good for what it's supposed to do. Dragonite, I almost want to put this in A tier, and I think I will for now. It's good on Dondozo teams, of course, with the Glamora stuff and Talonflame. Again, Dragonite has, some good, it lost Chien-Pao, okay? So I understand that, but, and that was a big loss. But once upon a time, Dragonite was strong in the format when there was no Chien-Pao yet, back in Regulation A/B. So, just imagine the set, extreme speed, outrage, okay, aerial ace, and of course ice spinner to blow up Indeedee and Rillaboom terrain. Okay, this thing is still going to do a lot of damage. Okay, is it going to do as much damage as partner with Chien-Pao? No, but because the power creep is lower, okay, and there's not as much bulkier Pokemon than before, this thing can just still one-shot a lot of things, with extreme speed. Okay, so I'm always going to respect Dragonite here. If you don't put it in A tier, I think B tier, high B tier for sure. But other than that, I think A tier is also quite good for Dragonite right now. All right, Typhlosion, the Hisuian one, much better than the regular one. It might be slower, but again, it's also like really aggressive. It's got the ghost typing against Shadow Ball, really good against stuff like Goldango overall. But I think it's okay. It's mainly used on those Whimsicott teams, so like Tailwind Eruption stuff. So I can kind of understand that. So, for that reason, I'll give it into the low B tier. Azumarill also can be okay. I think, again, another low B tier option. Again, the fairy coverage is good against all these dragons that are running around. Again, another belly drum user like Snorlax, but at the very least, I get water fairy coverage with Perish Song if I want to do that too. So again, different ways of playing the Azumarill if I want to do that. Otherwise, huge power does tons of damage in a non-Dynamax format. So, we saw how well Azumarill did. So I think low B tier is still like pretty solid for what it's supposed to do. Politoed has actually won a couple of Regulation Regulation H tournaments. I think Pelipper is still the best weather setter, of course, but that does not mean that Politoed cannot be used, okay? Especially now that a lot of the power creep is down. So again, you look at this, of course, Drizzle, 70 speed, like the bulk is not too bad. It's bulkier than Pelipper at least, but Pelipper gets Hurricane, it gets Wide Guard, which is really good. This thing gets Icy Wind, okay? So there's that. I know there's Hypnosis here, and then you can also do stuff like Parasong. But if I wanted a water type to use Parasong, I'd rather just use Azumarill, or I'd rather just use Primarina, right? But at the end of the day, it's still okay if you're like a Politoed fan. I think Pelipper, again, is the better weather setter right now. Jumpluff, again, outside of Sun teams, not really going to get too much usage. But again, you have Sleep Powder shenanigans. But again, if you're really going to do that, I'd rather just use the Hisuian Lilligant, or even like the Venusaur, right? So, and speaking of the Lilligant, let me find that down here. I might as well, right? So this, I'm going to put a little bit higher than both of them. So how about right here? I think this is still like solid for what we want the Lilligant to do. Okay, again, you have After You, Eruption plays, right? We already know what this thing can do. Okay, and then at the same time, you have Close Combat, which is good fighting coverage into the steel types like, King Gambit or the Arkeladon. But you have After You, you have, again, Sleep Powder, and then you have Leaf Blade stuff, right? So, or even Solar Blade, Ashkelly. So, I will give it its flowers for that regard. But again, outside of the Sun teams, you're not really going to see too much play. Murkrow, not too bad. I'm not, we lost Tornadus, so Murkrow gets to come out to play a little bit. I think it's great, the fact that it has Haze. We remember the Goldango Garchomp, Hydreigon Goldango core, right? So let me just put that on screen here, right? So we remember this core, right? Goldango, and then, what was it, Hydreigon. Again, just, clicking Haze to wipe away the debuffs from not only Dondozo, but also Goldango and Hydreigon after it clicks Draco Meteor is huge here. And then again, you still get Tailwind. You still have Rain Dance for speed, for weather. You also get Sunny Day if you want to play that route. So You also get access to foul play, which is not too bad in some of our other options here. So Murkrow, not too bad. You don't get Will-O-Wisp, so that's still okay. You don't get Hurricane, but again, it's just a different type of prankster Pokemon that's still like pretty solid right now if you really want to use it. Scizor, I always like Scizor. I think it's always decent in like a rain team, but like outside of a rain team, you know, are you really going to use this thing? There's no more Flutter Mane, so I'm going to say it's pretty niche. I think there's better steel types to use in the rain, like Arkeladon, like Kingambit, like Goldengo. But bug coverage, pretty good. Not too bad. Oh yeah, Houndoom. You know, I don't know. I'm going to put this here, but I do understand maybe there's a team that can make it work. I know Penguin's been using this, but, you know, outside of that, is it really that great? Maybe in the niche tier, but yeah. Kingdra, this thing, some people have started to use this thing. Again, it's another niche rain sweeper. The problem with Kingdra, okay, it's got good bulk, okay? Everything is the same stat, okay? Besides the HP, right? 95 everything, okay? 95 defense, 95 speed, that's good. 85 speed, also not bad. It's a decent sweeper, but the fact that, you know, 95 special attack, if this thing had even just 10 more special attack, I think it would get a lot more usage. But again, if I really wanted a dragon with Draco Meteor, bro, I'm just using Arkeladon. And then I think Basculegion is just a better rain sweeper than Kingdra overall. So, you know, you'd have to be hard pressed to find me some usage that Arkeladon slash Basculegion cannot do for me that Kingdra can. So yeah. All right, P2. Okay, you know, I like this thing a lot. I think A tier is correct here. Now that Urshifu is out of the format. So again, bulky Trick Room setter, you know, recover stuff. It can click Eerie Impulse and be super annoying. You know, you've got Tri Attack that's also very annoying. And again, it just rounds out a very bulky Trick Room core with, let me just put it on here. You've got Incineroar, you've got Porygon, you've got Amoonguss, you've got Porygon too. This is your Trick Room backbone. And then you have the Ursaluna, of course, right? And then from there, you can round out the rest of your team. But this is where the essence of that Ursaluna Porygon 2 Trick Room team starts. And again, look at the bulk here that you're going to be getting. I like this a lot. I like Porygon 2 in this format. Hitmontop, again, pretty niche. Intimidate and Fake Out User, yes. You get Wide Guard, yes. I think Incin is just overall superior, but you can definitely make some use out of Hitmontop. Tyranitar, man. Definitely in the A tier, without a doubt. The no Urshifu means A tier for Tyranitar. No Flutter Mane? Bro, it's Tyranitar's time again. You look at the results. Again, it's great into Pelipper. And, you know, the Assault Vest set is quite excellent. Let me put Tyranitar on the screen here. Look at the bulk stats. One of my favorite distributions of stats here for Tyranitar. Triple digit HP, triple digit defense, triple digit Spit F, right? Super bulky. Then you have 134 attack. Very, very aggressive, okay? And again, one thing that Tyranitar gets now that it did not get in Regulation 8 is Knock Off, which is huge in terms of removing key items from you know, opponents, just like in Summer. Then you've got the Rock Slide spam, you've got Terra Blast, Terra Flying to whiff any other of the fighting moves. Of course, you can have this partner next to Excadrill. It can Earthquake it. Assault Vest just makes it overall super bulky. And then after that, you know, something like Low Kick, good fighting coverage overall. You know, you've seen the cores with Talonflame and Goldengo. Okay, Tyranitar can come on these cores, and then you just have Will-O-Wisp on this thing, and now you've got physical damage reduction overall. So I can't see a reason why Tyranitar won't be an A tier here. Welcome back, Godzilla. Okay, Blaziken, you know, again, I know you get the Protect Speed Boost stuff, and you can potentially sweep. You've got aggressive fighting moves overall, so not too bad. I think there's better options. Same thing here, Swampert. Again, super bulky, water ground coverage. I think Gastrodon's just a little bit better, you know, in terms of that. You did get Wide Guard, but that was better in the previous format than it is now. Speaking of Gastrodon, let me just grab it over here. Okay, I also think Gastrodon is a little bit better than C tier. I think I'll put it in the low B tier for now. You know, again, very good anti-Palafin stuff. Very good also, you know, Arkeladon. You can soak up an Electro Shot at the end of the day, so that's nice. And then you have Yawn Pressure, which is really good. And, you know, here's the thing with Gastrodon. Okay, you know, the fact that you can have access to yawn, and then you can also do icy wind stuff for speed control, and then just also recover, you know, for longevity. You're super slow, which means in Trick Room you're faster than Ursaluna. So this way you can get off a yawn, and that's huge, right? So, you know, I do like Gashadon in this format. There is Rillaboom, of course, but, you know, this is why you have access to Terastallization. You can just go Terra Fire against the Rillaboom all around. So I like Gashadon. Low B tier, I think, is correct. Ludicolo, also, again, another interesting Rain Sweeper. You know, you can give this thing a Life Orb. It's a special attacker, so you can't really intimidate it. I do like water grass coverage. I think it could do something on, you know, some of those rain teams. So we'll see how it goes later on. Pelipper, here we go. So I want to put it in S tier, and I may leave it there, but I think right now A tier is still correct. Okay, best weather setter by far. Okay, maybe Tyranitar can one-up it soon, but again, you've got Weather Ball, you've got Hurricane. This thing enables its partners. It makes Arkeladon good. It makes Basculegion even better than it is at the moment because, again, of the Swift Swim stuff. Wide Guard is still a thing that you can use. Really good, you know, with Hurricane damage against Amoonguss and Rillaboom. It's just a great weather setter. There's no more Kyogre, so, you know, this is now your best rain setter. There are others, but I think Pelipper, of course, is just overall better in terms of what we wanted to do. Okay, Gardevoir, again, decent fairy type with telepathy. You can Earthquake next to it, you know, with something like Garchomp there, but I think there's just better options. It does get access to Trick Room, but if I really wanted a fairy, I'd rather pick Sylveon and Primarina there. All right, this thing, Breloom, again, also C tier. You know, it's got Spore. It's a fast Spore user. It's got Mach Punch, Technician stuff. But, you know, I'll even rank Chestnut higher than this thing. Another grass fighting type. Let's actually address the grass fighting types right now. So here we go. We'll get Chestnut here. I think Chestnut also within the C tier. I know Marcos is really high on Chestnut, and for good reason. You know, you just look at its stats and what it can do. Here, let's put Chestnut here in the thing. Again, like Overgo, of course, but look at Bulletproof. Again, you can't Shadow Ball this thing. And then, you know, Make It Rain. Not going to do a whole lot here. But the bulk is great. Again, Iron Defense. Body Press is an option for this thing. Okay, look at that defense stat. Really, really good. It's also slow, so you can even play this thing in Trick Room. I do like Chestnut here. I think it's solid. The other one, where's that thing? The Hisuian Decidueye. Is that even here? Or is that missing? Or am I just blind and can't quite find it yet? I'm looking for it. Did I miss it? Maybe I did. I don't see it down here. I may add it in the video later if I pause it. Oh no, I found it. Here we go. Hisuian Decidueye. Okay. So, I do think this thing is better than... let me think about it. Is it better than C tier or is it in the B tier? I think B is correct. Okay, I think it's way better than these guys. Okay, I don't know if it's better than the B plus tier or even the A tier. I just think Amoonguss and Rillaboom are just better grass types, but you can do some crit stuff with this thing. So I will respect Hisuian Decidueye in that regard. But outside of that, I just think the tools that Rillaboom and Amoonguss give you are going to be better than this thing. It's very niche, but I do want to rank it higher than the C tier. I think B minus, low B tier is correct. Hariyama, yeah, again, you know, now that Iron Hands is gone, and yes, we still have regular Ursaluna, this is another good Pokemon that can come out. Facade, Guts stuff, I understand, you know, but is this better than Ursaluna? I don't know. I think for now, I will put it in the C tier. Decent, you know, within Trick Room. Outside of that, not so great. Sableye, another prankster, you know, support Pokemon. You know, kind of like Murkrow here. I think C tier is correct for where we want to put the Sableye. I still think it's pretty decent, right? You know, again, Will-O-Wisp, you get Quash, right? You get Screens. So, you know, there's some niche for Sableye. I may bump this up a little bit higher, but I think C tier right now is correct for what we want out of Sableye. All right, Torkoal, another weather setter. I think I'm going to put this in the high B tier, of course. Again, really good in Trick Room. It's a great Trick Room sweeper. It gives weather now for stuff like Charizard. And, you know, I guess it's okay, you know, in that sense. So you can play it on like fast weather teams or just on Trick Room teams. So it just goes you to the flexibility of Torkoal. And then at the same time, you know, Torkoal has access to Clear Smog, which is again important for stuff like Dondozo and other setup Pokemon. So you can even just consider that. I have seen, of course, the eject button, eject pack overheat set. This is the support Torkoal set with Helping Hand as well. So you can even do stuff like this. So I think high B tier is correct for Torkoal. Milotic, again, another good water type. There is still Rillaboom, but again, this is comparable to Primarina. You had to be hard pressed for, you know, to find something better. But I think low B tier is correct for something like Milotic. Again, the coil pressure that you can do with it. Right, let me grab out Milotic over here. So look at the stats, right? It's actually very comparable with Primarina. If I put both of them side by side, here, let me just show you something here. But again, Primarina, that fairy typing is important. So look at this, Primarina, like the HP, you know, Milotic has the edge. 74 versus 79, so comparable there. 126 versus 100, so Primarina does more damage. 116 Spadef versus 125 Spadef. The speed, Milotic a little bit faster, but like, is this actually better than 60? I'd rather have the 60 because this is better Trick Room, and then even under Tailwind, this is not really outspeeding a whole lot of things. And it doesn't really want to play in that because you want the coil, hypnosis, muddy water stuff at the end of the day, right? So I do see that niche. And then Primarina, again, we'll talk about Primarina when we get to it. But I do think Milotic will find some use there. The one edge that Milotic has over Primarina is, of course, competitive. So anti-intimidate stuff, you know, if there's a lot of instant, there's Salamence running around, there's Gyarados still. So, you know, Milotic can do that, right? So for that reason, I think low B tier is correct. Definitely better than some of these C tier options. Dusclops also can be good. I do think low B. I don't think it's quite C tier. I think low, now that the Flutter Mane is gone and Urshifu is gone, I think Dusclops can come out to play a little bit more. You know, Will-O-Wisp, Nightshade, consistent damage. And then, of course, Trick Room. Right, let me put Dusclops on the screen here. Again, really slow, right? So you get to be faster than Amoonguss. And one cool trick that you can do with your Dusclops, if you have a special attacker, is you can Will-O-Wisp yourself and burn yourself, and then Amoonguss cannot spore you. I've done that a couple of times. But again, just solid, consistent damage with Nightshade. Then, of course, you have the Trick Room stuff. So, you know, it's a bulky Trick Room setter. But is this better than Porygon 2? I don't know. I don't think so, actually. So I'm going to put that in the low B tier for now. All right, we're very high on Salamence, okay? You know, either it's A tier or I'm going to put this in high B tier. And it's very usable in a lot of different cases. I think high B tier is correct, okay? Because it can be played in a rain team and it can be played outside of a rain team, all right? So I'll put Salamence here. So imagine this core with Pelipper, Amoonguss, okay? Then you have the Archeladon, of course, and then you can do like Mouse Ape stuff. But imagine this kind of core, and then here, we'll even add Goldengo here, right? So, you know, Salamence, again, you could do Hurricane, you know, thanks to Pelipper. You still have Manual Tailwind, you have Draco Meteor, then you have Protect, you have Life Orb over here. You're a very aggressive special attacker here on a rain team like this. So this makes a lot of sense. You can also play it outside of rain and just have a Dragon type with Intimidate. Okay, there's no more Flutter Mane, so this can come out to play a little bit more. There's no more Chen-Pao, of course, so that's a great plus for Salamence. I have used it on sand, right, because you can Earthquake next to Salamence. So for that reason, you know, I think high B tier is correct. It's a nice Intimidator besides Incineroar. All right, how about Metagross here? So, you know, again, no Urshifu, no Flutter Mane, no Chen-Pao. Is it better now? Yes. Also no Chi-Yu. But there's still Dragapult, there's still Goldengo, there's still Kingambit, there's still Tyranitar for that matter. But I think it's a little bit better now than it once was. I think C tier is still correct, you know, just given the circumstances. It doesn't really give me too much in terms of what I'm supposed to do with this thing. Like if I needed a strong physical steel type, I'd rather just pick Kingambit, right? What does Metagross give me that Kingambit cannot give me, right? So how about the Torterra? I've seen the Shell Smash stuff from this again. I think that's a gimmick. You know, I maybe niche tier. I want to almost say don't use, but it is a ground type, so you know you still have that Electro Shot immunity. So there's something there going for that. And then Infernape here. I know this has at least 1 or 2 results. I don't know, man. You know what? I'm gonna put this in don't use tier. I think I think even Blaziken's a little bit better than Infernape. You know, I think it's okay, but you'd have to hard press me for, you know, using Infernape over something like Incineroar, for example, or even like some of these other fire types, like, or a Talonflame or Volcarona. Like, tell me what does Infernape give me that doesn't give me as much value that like Talonflame or Volcarona give me, right? So, or even Skeletor's for that matter. I'm just gonna put in don't use tier. All right, Empoleon, again, another C tier mod. You've got competitive. It's much better now, but again, you know, there's other better competitive uses. I'd rather use Milotic, if anything, if I wanted a competitive water type. That steel weakness is not so great for it. Staraptor, another cool intimidator with Final Gambit, always going to have a niche if it does have that bird up, as Mr. Peter Chen would say. So some use there, I'm sure. Bastiodon, again, iron defense, body press stuff. Again, there's better users, so you'll have to find a better reason to use this one over some of the others. Drifblim, you've got the unburdened stuff. You got access to Tailwind, I guess. Sure. Bronzong, also Bronzong is always going to be a decent Pokemon here. I'm going to put this in the B- tier. I think that's correct. I almost even want to put it in like a little bit higher, but for now I will always give Bronzong some respect, and I'll leave it down here. Again, Trick Room, ground immunity, you know, Gyro Ball is really good. Iron defense, body press, again, you know, that's better than Bastiodon, so I'll leave it in that sense. So, you know, maybe it might see a little bit more play later on, but I've always been a big fan of Bronzong. I think B- is correct for where we want to put it. Okay, what's next? Guard. Ooh, one of my personal favorites. Garchomp. However, I do think, I think B+ is correct. I think, again, you're a fast dragon, but you're not faster than Dragapult, okay? You're faster than Salamence, so that's good. Earthquake, great. You can partner this with Tyranitar. Again, and just run like a Sand Garchomp team, you know, with Amoonguss and, you know, Primarina at the end of the day. I think Garchomp has a really good niche this time around. It's really aggressive. It hits really hard. There's no Flutter Mane, no Chien-Pao, of course, so Garchomp can finally come back out to play a little bit, and it has nice synergy with Tyranitar. Riolo, you got some coaching gimmicks here, so there's that, of course. So, you know, that'll give you a niche. Hippowdon is not as good of a sand setter as Tyranitar, but still can find a role on some of those Trick Room sand teams if you want to run something like that. But overall, I think Tyranitar is just better as a sand setter than Hippowdon for sure. Toxicroak, I'm sure someone's going to find a niche for this in like some rain gimmick, but other than that, you know, why else use that? Abomasnow, again, you know, niche. Yes, you can set the snow. And again, the defense boost, yes, you can spam Blizzard. I just think Ninetales is just way better. So I think that's what we're going to do here. Rhyperior, again, Rhyperior, again, looks pretty good in some of those Trick Room games with Porygon, Amoonguss, Torkoal stuff. I know our mod Evian is excited. I'm sure she's going to try and use Rhyperior at some point. It's a good Trick Room sweeper. Porygon Z, again, oops, I dropped it. Porygon Z, not as good as Porygon 2. Yes, it could do one big nuke. But outside of that, you know, I could find other nukers that can give me a lot more than Porygon Z. Mamoswine is always a favorite from Japan, and I will always respect Mamoswine for that reason. I'm going to put that thing in B-. Again, ground ice typing is really good for a lot of the meta. Again, you have ice coverage for a lot of these dragons. You have ground coverage for the Arkeladon matchup. So that's pretty good for you. You've got Thick Fat available. You've got Oblivious at the same time. Mamoswine always is a solid pick in a non-restricted format, in my opinion. Gallade. Ooh, I loved Gallade. It's one of my favorites. I think it belongs right here in the high B tier, along with the Indeedee stuff. I'm going to grab Indeedee here. Where's Indeedee? I'm going to grab the whole Trick Room cores, actually. You know, let me save some time. Let me grab Indeedee over here. Okay, and then let me also grab... what's that thing called? Armarouge. I think Armarouge is also much better this time around. Where are you, Armarouge? There you are. Okay. Indeedee, Armarouge, Gallade. Yep, we've got the Trick Room homies. Again, they get to come out to play this format. Size spam is a thing. Expanding Force. Get your dark types ready. You know, I almost want to put him in A tier, but I think right now high B tier is correct for where we want to put the side spam stuff. Maybe Indeedee is just a little bit better. I might put this in the A tier, or maybe at the top of the B tier list over here, or the high B tier. But, you know, it's tough to say right now, but I think we've got Indeedee in the right spot. Maybe it bumps up into the A tier, but again, overriding Rillaboom terrain is good. But again, side spam is a thing, but I will leave these in high B tier. And again, Gallade, really good into Incineroar, which can give side spam some trouble. This thing, Armarouge, again, expanding force. You can also do the, you know, the weakness policy. What's that ability called? Where does that go? Hold on. Armarouge. What's that other thing? Besides Flash Fire. Oh, Weak Armor. Yeah. You could do the weakness policy, Weak Armor stuff. But Flash Fire is always just going to be a solid ability. I do like Armarouge a little bit more than Hatterene in this format. But you can also do Meteor Beam, right? We've shown that before. Meteor Beam into Incin. That's also really solid if you want to have Hatterene at the same time. All right. The double Rotoms. I do like them. You know, I think they can come out to play this format. I used it on Sand again. You know, with Rotom Heat. You've got Will-O-Wisp Pressure. This one is pretty good into something like Palafin because, again, you can outbulk the water damage and then just deal a super effective electric move against it. You've got Levitate, which is great. And then, again, Terra Electric. So you only have... So you virtually have no weaknesses, right? Because, again, you have Levitate for you. So that's also pretty good. I think it's relatively niche. But, again, I do like the Rotom. Serperior. Again, this thing also... can have some decent role on this team now. Again, another good, solid competitive user, but not as good as something like Milotic. I think Serperior not bad, but I think Milotic right now is still in the lead. Samurott, Hisuian Samurott, again, setting hazards, Aqua Cutter, and it has that other ability. What's that other ability called? On, let me see that. Sharpness, just like Gallade. Again, Gallade also. Let me go back to Gallade for a second. Gallade. You know, again, Sacred Sword, Sharpness, really good into Dondozo at the end of the day. Psycho Cut also does tons of damage. Psychic Terrain, right? Nuke Amoongus. So that's always good. And then again, this guy also does tons of damage with Sharpness. You know, good, solid attacking stat. Can set hazards if you want to go in that direction, but I think also very niche. I think Gallade is just better. All right, little Excadrill, you know, good partner for Tyranitar and Sand. I think it's in the lower B tier. It's okay. It's pretty good. It can come out, play, and, you know, click Rock Slide, click aggressive ground moves. Somewhat frail, good HP stat. But again, I think Lycanroc is just a little bit better than Excadrill. But Excadrill still solid. Ooh, Conkeldurr. Okay, Conkeldurr also not bad as well. I think also still within the niche tier. In terms of, you know, those Trick Room teams, definitely pretty solid, great attacking stat. Another Guts user besides, you know, Ursaluna. So you know, consider that, I guess. Let me look at this. I always forget Conkeldurr's speed stat here. It's 45. That actually makes it faster. So, you know, this might be a little bit better than Ursaluna, but again, more SPDEF from the Ursaluna in that sense. So, but for now, I think it's relatively niche. It's still pretty decent. Whimsicott, yes. Ooh, you know, there's no more Tornadus, right? So now you're the dominant Tailwind setter, Prankster Tailwind setter, I would say. Again, Encore, Light Screen, very good. You know, you can even use Trick Room on this. You've got Fake Tears on the Whimsicott as well. You know, that's going to be good with like Hisuian Typhlosion stuff. So, you know, I do like it in the A tier. I think it's, you know, if you want to play a hyper offensive team, you got to start with Whimsicott giving you the Tailwind stuff. All right, Crocodile, another Intimidate user that's a Dark type. Great into Side Spam stuff. It's a Ground type too. So, you know, you can have a decent matchup into Arkeladon at the same time. So, you know, multi-use. Crocodile is always one of our favorites that's like not ever super meta because it can fill a lot of different roles. It's just, you know, some of these Pokemon are just broken. So, you know, I still think C tier is correct. Same thing with this guy, Scrafty. You know, Fake Out, Pressure, Intimidate. You know, outside of that, okay, sure. Hisuian Zoroark. It actually has a good... It's pretty decent, okay. I think low B tier is correct now. The illusion stuff is insane if you get this wrong. But again, of course, you know, it's still more or less a gimmick. But again, I still think it's better now than it once was in the previous formats. I think low B tier is correct. for what we wanted to do. Gothitelle, same thing. Again, the Perish Song stuff, the shadow tagging, I do think low B tier is correct. Fake out pressure, trapping things, used to be really good with Urshifu stuff, but you may see the Perish Song come back with something like Gothitelle. We'll see what happens. Finally, our first S tier Pokemon. Amoonguss, the mushroom, is finally back to being the king. Get ready to see this thing in top 3 usage again in the charts. Again, there's no more Miraidon, so Amoonguss now can reign supreme. It almost won world championships, right? Even with Miraidon. So sport pressure, redirector, again, regenerator to recover health. This thing is always going to be at the top of VGC along with Incineroar, right? And we'll get to that when we see it. Chandelure, actually, I'm going to rank a little bit higher than C tier. I think low B tier is correct. This thing with Flash Fire, really good. And then at the same time, you get access to Trick Room. You've got Imprison, Heat Wave, Shadow Ball stuff. You get to wall Goldango. All right, you get to wall it if you have Imprison. It can't click Shadow Ball. Make It Rain is resisted. So Chandelure just absolutely obliterates Goldango and also like some of the other steel types at the end of the day. So I do like this. And then of course Flash Fire, right? You get to absorb a key fire type attack. Great Pokemon right now. I think low B tier is correct. Beartic, another C tier. Beartic can actually do something. I'm not gonna lie. It could do something in the rain, but there's just I'd rather just use Basket Legion. But ice coverage is still pretty good. Mienshao. All right, this is not a restricted format, and even if it was, I would still put it in the C tier. Fake Out, Wide Guard, Close Combat, beats Incin. That's good. You'll always have a niche if you can beat Incineroar. Bisharp. I almost forgot about this thing. Yeah, don't use this thing. Just use King Gambit. All right, both the Braviaries. I don't think we want to use this one. I think there's better defined users. I'd rather just use King Gambit. This one I have seen on some of those Trick Room teams. Expanding Force, but you don't really capitalize off of terrain. But at the very least, it's a cool ability. It does great damage with the Life Orb, especially. Mandibuzz, Dark type, with Foul Play, Tailwind stuff, Overcoat, Amoonguss immunity, just like Kamo. So C tier, and again, Tailwind is really nice. Hydreigon, ooh, there we go. I almost wanted to put this in S tier, but I think A tier is correct. Again, lots of different ways you can play Hydreigon. Okay, let's put this on the screen for a second. Okay, so we obviously know the scope lens stuff, with Focus Energy and Draco Meteor, right? So that, of course, is a very easy way to play it. Okay, yes, we know that, but you can also play it a slower, bulkier way with an Assault Vest. You can do Snarl, Draco Meteor, Heat Wave, right? And then this also gets access to Earth Power at the same time, right? You can do it like that. Or you could play this, as like a Covert Cloak Tailwind setter, okay? Because remember, Hydreigon does get Tailwind, and you can always partner this with Goldango, with Talonflame, with the Amoonguss at the same time, Primarina at the same time. So Hydreigon looking really good. Great into Side Spam. You're a Dark type, so Hydreigon has a lot going for it. Just think back to Regulation A. It was always really good. Then down here, Volcarona, again, maybe one of our favorites. Overall, I'm gonna put this high up there in the A tier. Absolutely. You get to sit there, you get to Quiver Dance, wall a lot of the special attackers. And then at the same time, you've got Giga Drain, you've got Heat Wave, Fiery Dance, you get access to Rage Powder, you can do Tailwind, you could be supportive that way. You got Will-O-Wisp. So this could be an offensive threat or a defensive threat. And because of that, you can have it in multiple roles. And for that reason, 100% in the A tier. Talonflame also really solid. I want to put in high B tier, but actually, again, priority, no more Tornadus, right? Priority Brave Bird, really strong with Sharp Beak or Life Orb. You got priority Tailwind. You've got Will-O-Wisp, you've got Taunt. It's very fast, right? So I think A tier also pretty good for what we want out of Talonflame. I think it's really solid. At the end of the day, maybe you can drop this into the high B tier, but right now I think where we have it right now is correct. I may drop it a little bit later, but again, Talonflame still is always relatively solid. I think right now A tier is good for what we're supposed to do. Again, very key component with Goldango, Hydreigon cores, along with Primarina. I think it's pretty solid. All right. Anyway, we got some Pokemon here. Meowstic, again, another prankster screen setter like Grimmsnarl. I would just rather use Grimmsnarl. In fact, where are you, Grimmsnarl? Did we cover you? Yeah, let's cover you now. So, I think Grimmsnarl, you know, high B tier for sure. Again, screens, Thunder Wave pressure, foul play, also really good. Spirit Break now also looks really good. Always a channel favorite besides Celesteela. We love Grimmsnarl. Good on a Dragon Fairy Steel Core. You can stall out Trick Room turns with screens, especially with that light play set. Prankster Thunder Wave, like we said, is also really strong. You get Fake Out too, right? So give that some consideration. Malamar, another one of those competitive users. Yeah, you can click, you know, super, not competitive. I'm sorry, topsy turvy, right? You click close combat, and then at the, you know, wait, hold on a second. Let me look at Malamar. Yeah, it's contrary. That's what it was. I almost said competitive, not a competitive, contrary, right? So you know, there's this thing. Yeah, you got the close combat gimmicks. Actually, no, you don't. Wait, no, it was super power. Okay, I understand it. You know what? Nah, don't use it. Forget it. All right, Sylveon. Sylveon. Let's see. Much better now. Is it A tier? I think that's pre-Marina spot. I think high B tier is correct. Hyper Voice. Strong Hyper Voice, might I add. And then Quick Attack. You get to Calm Mind. You get to Substitute. Really good. Like, once Fluttermane went out of the way, this paved the way for Sylveon and pre-Marina at the same time. Look at this bulk that you're getting out of Sylveon here. 130 special defense. Good HP stat. You just have to put an Intimidate mod next to this, and you can't really break the Sylveon at the end of the day. Right? You also get access to Baby Doll Eyes. You can also get access to Charm. You can be a support set. So you can definitely do that. But Hyper Voice with the Throat Spray is right now the more common idea to use with the Sylveon. Hisuian Gudra, Iron Defense Body Press Mon. I do like it. I think C tier is correct for where we want those. You know, again, pretty solid for what we want to do. I'm gonna put it a little bit ahead, of course. Yeah, let's just put it right here. I think Hisuian Gudra will always have a decent spot, but I think it's very niche. I think Kamo is just better at doing that job too. Klefki, Prankster Screen Setter with Thunder Wave, just like Grimmsnarl, just like Meowstic here, going in the C tier. Gets access to Rain Dance too, right? Incin, our second S tier mon, without a doubt. Again, you know, had a little bit of dip in usage in the Worlds, went down to 26%, but the fact that you can even have S tier consideration in a restricted format just goes to show you how good you really are. Fake Out Pressure, Parting Shot, Intimidate, super bulky, does, you know, sits in front of side spam. You can do an aggressive Assault Vest set, and, you know, you have knockoff, removing key items is big. You have Will-O-Wisp to burn targets. It's one of the king support Pokemons in VGC. You know, I don't really need to explain what Incineroar can do. Pre-Marina, high A tier, of course. Now, again, you have Haze, which is great into Dondozo. Now that Fluttermane is out of the picture, there's no Tapu Fini yet. So now you have the premier Water Fairy type here. You know, Azumarill is in the B tier. Throat Spray, Hyper Voice, tons of damage. Moonblast, good damage. You could put a Life Orb on this thing and be super aggressive. Anyway, you can play this in Trick Room. It's pretty slow. And like we said, Haze, able to remove setup, you know, one of your premier water types. And it fulfills two cores. It fulfills water and fairy type on your team. Vikavolt, very niche on Trick Room teams. You've got Levitate, so I guess you can Earthquake next to it. Sure. Lycanroc, I do like this a little bit more than Excadrill. I think it's pretty solid with T-Tar. I'm going to put it right here. You have the Focus Sash and Denver stuff. It's super fast. Toxic Pex can be one of those stall team gimmicks. You know, toxic infestation stuff. Yes, I'll respect that. This one, again, the horse. I almost forget its name. Edu's going to kill me. It's just, I'm blanking on it right now. I'll come back to it in a second. But I know what it does. It has the stamina thing. I'm just really blanking on its name. But again, you know, body press stuff, iron defense. Again, yeah, we'll put that there. Araquanid. Okay, right here. Araquanid. Again, decent in Trick Room, I would say. You know, not too bad. You get Wyguard. You know, Mystic Water. Liquidation is also really good. Bug typing overall. But there's just better Trick Room, aggressive Trick Room options than Araquanid, you know, in terms of that. I must have let this thing out. Another Contrary Mon, just don't use this thing. Salazzle has a decent age, right? And I'm sure we're making Jamie Boyd proud here. Let's put Salazzle here on the screen and see what it can do. So Salazzle, again, Focus Sash user. It does have Endeavor. Yes, it does. Did it have Fake Tears? It does, and it also gets Fake Out, right? So, you've got that going for you. And then, of course, it does decent damage. So it's also pretty fast. Oblivious, you can't taunt this thing or intimidate it. Of course, not that you really care for it. But do you have Clear Smog? I'm sorry, do you have... Where's that thing? Well, yeah, of course, Helping Hand. But, Salazzle always will find a niche in a non-restricted format. I think it's also okay. Serena, denying anti-priority with Rillaboom. You'll always have a place, within the meta. I think B tier is correct for something like that. Ferrograph does that job a little bit better. I think the Giraffe can go right here in the A tier. Again, you just won yourself a world championship for good reason. Bulky Trick Room Setter that denies priority. Aggressive against Amoonguss. So, for that reason, I think in the high A tier is quite correct. Okay, Comfey here. So again, Triage is very, very good. You got Floral Healing. Another thing that you can even consider, with something like Snorlax or even Kamaho if they're going for the Clanging Scales, Clangor Soul set there. But again, at the same time, the healing is very much appreciated. But I think C tier is best. I think there's better options. Oranguru, again, yes, you have Trick Room, you have Mental Herb. You can do the Instruct stuff with Torkoal and, Telepathy or Ursaluna, so you can do Earthquake twice. You can click Eruption twice. I understand that. So, yeah, decent niche Trick Room option if you want to go that direction. I almost forgot Mimikyu was in the game. I don't know. Do I really want to merit a C tier slot here for something like Mimikyu? It's nah. I think we're going down here in the don't use tier. Maybe there will be a time and place for Mimikyu to come right back. But for now, I think the don't use tier is exactly where we want it. I think they're just better Trick Room setters. I know what we're getting out of its ability, but I don't think it's just enough to merit a slot there. I think there's better options. All right, this one, again, I rather just use Ferrograph. I rather just use Serena. You're denying priority with Dazzling. You do get Trick Room, so there's that. C tier is where we're going to put it. Okay, finally we get to Kamo. We've mentioned this so many times. But again, I'm a big fan of Kamo in this format. I love the setup that it can do. I love using it with Sinistcha. I think it makes a lot of sense with Sand. You can do Iron Defense Body Press stuff. It has some, decent results from some tournaments. I do think a little bit more fleshing out with some of the cores is going to be important. But at the same time, I love its fighting coverage into Archeladon. And again, it just creates so much pressure, with the setup there. I think, do I want to leave it in A tier? Let me think about this. I think maybe, all right, we'll put it in high B tier for now. But eventually, I do think it does belong in the A tier because, again, for that setup, I think it's very good. But I'll leave it in the high B tier for now. There we go. Rillaboom, of course. Its brother with Incineroar. Again, another S tier option here. It gives you another solid grass type. Fake Out, pivot option, priority Grassy Glide, big damage with Wood Hammer, bulky with Assault Vest. You have access to knockoff and high horsepower at the same time. You can do some gimmick stuff with Drain Punch, but at the end of the day, it's just one of the best grass types around in VGC, of course. All right, Inteleon, I've seen the Dragon Cheer stuff, with the crit bonus. I rather just use Hydreigon if I'm going to do crit stuff, or even like Hisuian Decidueye. Okay, how about Corviknight here? I've always been like a good fan of Corviknight at the same time. And again, Dragon Fairy Steel cores with Garchomp, Tailwind, Mirror Armor stuff. You got bulk up setup ideas. So, you can give yourself speed control and also be a sweeper at the end of the day. No more Iron Hands, right? So Corviknight could come back out to play a little bit. Dreadnought. I don't really know where I want to put this thing. I'm just going to say don't use. I think there's better sweepers. We have enough rain sweepers down here. We don't need any more in the C tier. All right, same thing with this thing. Barraskewda. Again, it looks like a gimmick what's that thing called? It looks like a gimmick basculation at this point, but I will give it some respect. Hattering here, okay, again, part of that NDD Trick Room core. I do like it. I think, is it B plus or is it in the low? I like B minus. I think armor is just a little bit better this time around, but Hattering is still always going to be strong with expanding force, dazzling gleam, trick room stuff. The Steely Spirit Berserker, not bad with Goldango, niche at best. Same thing with the Alchemy. You've got Decorate, Sweet Veil stuff, pretty good against not falling asleep. I do think Smeargle fulfills the Decorate role a little bit better. Frost Moth, okay. Wide Guard, Bug Buzz. I think it gets Tailwind, right? I always forget this thing in terms of what it can do. Frost Moth, let me see. Do you get Tailwind? I think you do. You do get Tailwind, and you also get Quiver Dance, just like Volcarona. So, but again, if I'm going to go for Tailwind, Quiver Dance, I'd rather just use Volcarona rather than the Frost Moth, okay? But it's still pretty good. All right, the one trick pony thing with, again, the power spot stuff, you can probably put this with Dragonite and, watch this thing click extreme speed. So, that's really what it's supposed to do. This one, the Mailing Deity, this is for like faster expanding force spam. So it's another kind of size spam. I think it's niche at best. Dragapult, I do like Pult. Question is it high A or is it in the A tier or the high B tier? I'm not sure at the moment. I think high B tier is correct, but at the same time, I want to give Dragapult its flowers. You are the fastest dragon, and if you are the faster dragon, you always win. But I think right now, high B tier is correct. I don't think it's bad enough for in the low B tier. Again, clear body, right? You can't really intimidate this thing, but at the same time, I do like Dragonite and Hydreigon just a little bit more than Dragapult. A little bit more bulk too. This one, you've got Intimidate and Trick Room, and you're the only one that can really do it, so we'll just put you there in the C tier. Cleaver, same thing. If you want to set hazards, cool. This is not singles, but at the same time, I understand it. Mabo Stiff, I can't believe we left this thing out. Dark type with Intimidate. Alright, we'll leave you there. I was going to put you in Don't Use tier. Ursaluna, we'll put you, I think, in the A tier again. The only thing you really have to worry about is Intimidate second from Incineroar. But other than that, super aggressive here. You can't put it to sleep because it's burned and clicking, high hard-hitting facades, earthquake stuff, headlong rushes. Ursaluna, along with its partner, Blood Moon Ursaluna, the kings of Trick Room at the moment. Actually, is there Blood Moon here? Did I cover it already? Wait, there's no Blood Moon. Okay, hold on a second. We're gonna wait, or am I missing it? Hold on a second. Yeah, we're missing the Blood Moon, or am I just blind here? No, there's no Blood Moon. Okay, we're gonna add that towards the end of the video. I just want to get through some of this other stuff, but yeah, definitely Blood Moon is going in the S tier. We'll A tier. We'll add it right back in. Basculegion, again, very strong sweeper in the rain with Pelipper and Arkeladon. It's always like a good late game cleaner. You can even sweep in the early game, right? Because of the Swift Swim ability. It's super strong. Last Respects is a broken move. Sneasler, actually not too bad this time around. But again, it's still pretty niche. Again, the Unburdened stuff is pretty nice. It's a decent fighting type in something like Arkeladon, I guess. So, do I want to rank it a little bit higher? No, I think C tier is correct for something like Sneasler. The Overcool also, I think, again, pretty good on those rain teams, but not as good as some of the other options. I think low B tier is correct for the Overcool. You get Gunk Shot. You also can do Intimidate, but who's really doing that? Meowscarada, another one that can come back out to play a little bit. Question is, where do I put you? I don't think you're in the A tier. I think, let me think. Again, you also get access to Trick Room. You can crit Dondozo. Overall, not bad. I'm going to say low B tier for now. I think B is good for what this thing's supposed to do. Knockoff, Flower Trick, Trick Room, Protect. It's super fast. Not as fast as Talonflame, though. But again, B tier is great. Skeledirge, Unaware, will always have a role in a format where Dondozo is set to be the king yet again. So I'm going to put this in a B tier option here. unaware, just like Clefable, really, really solid. Quaquaval, yeah, man, I gotta be honest. I don't think I want to use this thing. I'm gonna put this in the D tier. I think there's a better water fighting type in the Tauros. Palmot, I do like. Again, Palmot, again, fake out, revival, blessing, close combat. Into the fighting types, into the dark types. You also have double shock for some of the electric types running around. I do like Palmot, of course, most commonly seen bringing Dondozo back to life, of course, but, Focus Sash is the way to go. Mousehold, also very solid, just like the Annihilate stuff. Mousehold, Annihilate, one of the best cores here. Actually, I'm going to put this thing in the A tier. I think it really goes well with Arkeladon at the same time, beat up pressure into the Arkeladon. Again, going to be very, very solid in what it can do. In fact, I'll just grab Arkeladon here right now and just put this thing in the A tier with the Pelipper at the same time. Again, one of the key things that, one of the most common Pokemon that you'll find right now running around, Electroshock pressure, body press stuff. So now you're getting special defense boost, and now you're also getting physical defense boost because of the stamina ability. You do a ton of damage with Draco Meteor, and of course you can ramp up your special attack because of Electroshot in the rain. It's good stats. Arkeladon poised to be the king. I almost want to put it in S tier, but it's really only used with the Pelipper stuff, right? So for that reason, I keep it in the A tier. Darkspun, I understand this thing wants to just click, the Torkoal flower plume stuff. Don't use this thing. I missed it. Arboliva, maybe a little bit of niche. Can do a lot of damage. Also summons out grassy terrain, I guess. So decent Turkum Sweeper with a niche. Squawk ability. This thing gets Fake Out, Tailwind, and Parting Shot. He's the only thing that can do all three. C tier always at best. But nobody uses it because its stats are meh, right? Garganacl is another one of those underrated options that not too many people are exploring right now. But once they do explore it, they'll realize that this thing is good. Amoonguss immunity, Salt Cure stuff. Think about the menace that this thing was back in Regulation 8. There's no more Urshifu anymore. So I do think the B tier is relatively solid. Yes, I understand there's Rillaboom, but from what Garganacl has shown me in the past, I think this is correct. Cerulege, I think Armors is just the better option. Flash Fire, yes, I understand, but I think Armors is better. Bella Bolt, I'll always find a way to put this thing in the C tier, and I think it's correct. I don't want to put this in the don't use tier, but I think it will just end up here at some point. But there's some use out of that thing. All right, this one I think is another one of those underrated options. I'm going to put this in low B tier. You have Competitive and Tailwind. Now we're talking, right? And then you also have Wind Rider, so Heat Wave stuff won't really affect you. Sometimes you'll see this thing next to Garchomp instead of Talonflame for Earthquake stuff. So decent option there. I don't know if people want to use this thing, but we'll put it in the C tier for now, of course. Scovillain, I can see some teams using this thing, but can you really get value out of it as opposed to Rillaboom there? Another one of those revival Pokemon, but I'd rather just use Palmot if I'm gonna use this thing, the Rapska. Another gimmick in this, with the hypnosis stuff, the Crash, the Lumina Crash. All right, we're getting towards the end. Tinkaton, Fake Out Pressure, yes. Super effective Fairy move, yes. Can it miss? Yes. Does it have Thunder Wave? Yes. Gigaton Hammer, good move. But, yeah, C tier. Palafin, okay, not quite the A tier I thought it would be in the beginning, but still very good in terms of, the pressure that it creates after you pivoted out, from the Pavey form and now become the hero form. So, aggressive water type with Incineroar and Rillaboom to round out a nice decent core. Cyclizar, you get the Shed to Tail stuff. Sure, why not? I'd rather just use Substitute. Orthworm could be good later on. I think, a niche next to Earthquake stuff, with Dragonite, Gyarados, or even Garchomp. I think Shed Tail, Orthworm does make sense on some of those teams. Glomora, one of the Clover favorites, man. Going into A tier. Very nice with Talonflame, very nice with Goldengo. Creates so much pressure early on, sets the toxic spikes, even though this is VGC, but Glomora, again, Rock Poison, very interesting typing. Sludge Bomb for Pre-Marina, which is good. Then you have Terra Grass option available to you. You can one-shot instant with Meteor Beam. Okay, get a +1 attack. And then just do +1 Sludge Bomb, +1 Earth Powers. You get Spiky Shield too. A little more very good. Also with Dondozo at the same time too. By the way, I'm going to just go straight into it. Dondozo, Tatsugiri, of course, in the S tier. They're going to dictate a lot of the format just like they did previous formats, you know, with regulation A through C. You got to build it and respect it. You know, whenever you're building, one of the first questions people are going to ask you, where's your Dondozo check? Where's your Dondozo answer? That means you command the meta, and because of that, you're going to be within that S tier range. Houndstone, niche option, Excadrill, better than that, and then Lycanroc, I think also better than that. This one also a gimmick with Dondozo, you know, the co-star stuff, copying that. Otherwise, where else would you use this? All right, you know, we'll find a use. I always forget this name, and you know, just like the horse, which name I still cannot remember. You know what? There's an easy way to solve this. We do a ground search. Okay, I will find out what it is. Not one of these. Mammal Swine. Mudsdale. That's what it was. There we go. We got Mudsdale. We remembered the name. And this one is to Titan. I mean, belly drum stuff. Yes, I understand. You know, you can be fast in snow, but is that really worth it? Annihilate, of course. Again, another one of the big archetypes in the meta, along with Mousehold. Mousehold, Annihilate, Dondozo, Arcaladin Rain, Psy-Spam. These are your top 4 archetypes without a doubt. Everyone else is just following those 4. Clodsire, again, also decent niche. Dudon, don't use Dunsparce. All right, King Gambit, for sure, A tier usage. Again, anti-intimidate. You've got pressure into Goldengo. You've got pressure into Psy-Spam. You could be a Trick Room Sweeper. Your base 50 speed, just like the Ursaluna stuff. I think A tier. And the bulk is excellent, right? So just as a reminder for that. And then Black Glasses, you could just one-shot a lot of different things. Baxcalibur, we like Baxcalibur. Also, A tier, very aggressive. Maybe B tier might be better right now, but I think Baxcalibur balanced with Ninetales and Volcarona stuff is so strong. You have to respect it. Finally, another S tier. Here we go, Goldengo. Another one that commands the meta. Goldengo looks amazing now that Urshifu and Fluttermane are gone. You got Make It Rain Spam. You've got Shadow Ball. You've got Nasty Plot setup. You can do Life Orb. You can do Leftovers. You can do Choice Specs. This thing absolutely cleans with Talonflame help with the Tailwind support. Sinistcha, again over here. You know, I don't think it's quite the A tier. I think B tier is going to be correct for what we can do with it. Yeah, I'm going to do it in the high B tier. Sometimes it can be a little bit better than Amoonguss depending on the team. And then Hydrapple over here in the niche tier. Of course, decent Trick Room setter. Decent Trick Room Sweeper. But there are so many better uses for Hydrapple. But it has had some tournament results. I will respect it. It's got good stats on paper, right? Have you guys seen Hydrapple's stats? Like, it's just the typing that's not so great. But Hydrapple, look at this. 106 HP, 110 defense, 80 speed F. The bulk is actually pretty solid. 120 special attack and 44 speed. You're slower than Ursaluna, which is good. So there's going to be some good uses from Hydrapple, which is why I think it does belong in the C tier, you know, on those Trick Room teams without a doubt. All right, and finally, Blood Moon. We managed to re-add it here. And of course, we're putting in the A tier. One of the dominant Trick Room Sweepers right now, along with the other Ursaluna. Hyper Voice, Blood. This thing was not bad. The stats are amazing, of course. Blood Moon nuke, Earth Power nuke into the Arcaladin. You get to nuke Goldengo at the same time. You know, there's lots of things going for the Blood Moon Ursaluna. One of the best special attacking Trick Room options. You can't get intimidated like the other one, so there's that. So this is it. All right. I think without a doubt, these are our S tiers. I don't know if I want to put some of these into the S tier. I think they're definitely correct here in the A tier slot. As of right now, B tier also, some of these options. Again, Sylveon, good, not as good as Primarina in my opinion. Dragon Bolt also not as good as some of these other dragons, but still very solid. Same thing can be said with Salamence. And And then Torkoal, another good weather setter. Not like Pelipper though, but very good in Trick Room games and also on Sun teams overall. I think also our low B tier is correct. Like if you were to combine the B tier into one, I think a lot of these options are okay. C tier, we have a lot of C tier options, but you know, they have a role on certain teams. It's just you have to work really hard to make them work. And at that point, is it really worth it, right? And then after that, this is your don't use tier, which is just a ton of Pokemon here. You know, so feel free to argue with me in the comments if you think something else belongs something higher or something else a little bit lower. You know, don't be shy. You know, it's all up for debate. This is the initial tier list. The format has not started yet. Okay, you know, we're just going by tournament data so far in the month of August and just what kind of performances team compositions have had so far. All right, but finally, we're done with our list. So let me know what you think of our list, and you know, feel free to respond in the comment section. But I am tired. This was a long video. So hopefully you guys get a better sense of where we are in the meta right now. But it's pretty clear that it's Arkeladon Rain. Like I said, Tyranitar is back, you know, as with Talonflame, Goldango, Hydreigon and stuff. Dondozo is things you have to watch out for. Dragonite couldn't be good later on. Volcarona looks really good as well. Both Ursalunas are still strong along with Farigiraf. And then you've got some other niche cores and teams like the combo setup stuff. You've got Pawmot filling out niche roles. Psyspam is still a B tier archetype in my opinion, but still you need something against it. But again, still pretty good. Maybe Charizard gets a little bit more results later on. But right now, it's just all about these guys, and everybody else is just planning for it. All right? But, you know, let me know what you think of our list. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.